Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 1st Working Group Component Standard Office Hours. This is our hour for folks to drop in and ask questions and get help with what they are working on. I am Mike Toffin, and I'll be in the channel today answering questions. It's good. It's going well. Why is my video not seem to be? There it goes. Hey, yeah, the doc looks really good. I think your edits were great. I had a few comments on it, but overall, I think it looks great. I think so. Since this is mostly like a revision of the existing cap, I want to try and reuse the same pull request if possible. So I'm trying to give you access to my branch that backs that pull request so that you can just push over it with the updates. This is the first time I've ever tried to do this on GitHub, so let me know if you got, like, you should get like an invite or something to collaborate on my fork of the enhancements repo. And then I have to figure out how to make sure you have access to that specific branch. I did set up a branch protection rule that should let you force push to that specific branch, but we just have to make sure it works.
Okay. Should I push the same commit, like a squashed commit?
You can. I would pull that branch down first, add a new commit on top, and then push with just the new commit, just to start, just to see if that works. But I think you have to accept the invite first.
Yeah, I accepted.
Okay, great. And I don't know what level of access this gives you, because GitHub is very unclear about what it lets you actually do. Yeah, so I pulled down mtoffen. So like add my repo as a remote, pull down instance specific branch from that remote, or just git fetch the remote and then check out the branch. And then you should be able to just add another commit on top and then push up.
Okay. Should I try to do this right now? I don't think it's a good idea to
Okay.
test it.
Yeah. Let's talk. I mean, we can talk through the doc. Do you have, I know there's some to-dos in there that I thought were good. Did you have any like specific questions?
You saw I removed a lot of stuff with the minus and indentation.
Yeah.
I just cleaned up this, so I have
Okay,
less things.
great.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I totally got what you were doing there. Let's see. I think definitely, yeah, like we can add some diagrams. I thought maybe like especially when we're showing how complicated the case-by-case merge is, it would be worth like a sequence diagram to show all the like stuff that has to happen in that, or even maybe not a sequence diagram, maybe just like a list of all the steps, just so people can see without looking at the example, like, oh yeah, that is pretty complicated.
I think we can transform that diagram in a sequence diagram to be more clear. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah, up to you.
Okay.
I just want to like make an impression on people, like, yeah, it was really complicated. We probably shouldn't do it.
We can overcomplicating propose more too.
Yeah. um, and then I thought we could probably come up with a few more specific examples or reasons that show why the strategic merge batch is simpler. Probably actually just adding that list is enough. If you just say like, look how many steps there are if we don't do strategic merge batch, and look how few there are if we do. That's probably actually enough.
Sorry,
Um,
you are thinking about the alternative yet? Uh,
so in the design details section, there's a configuration merge example. And one of the paragraphs sort of said like this shows how strategic merge patch simplifies the implementation. Um, and the reason it gave was, well, it already uses an already proven method from API machinery, but I think we can be more specific about that. So like I added one that says like we avoid, complexity around like if, the kind that we implemented the case by case merge against isn't the same kind that gets read in, then an automatic conversion might happen and that might screw us up, right? And we could maybe like list a few of the other edge cases. Um, but also like just show how it's, like one step to just do the merge and then unmarshal instead of, you know, was it 5 or 6 steps from the other one where we had to like read in the shared one, copy the defaults over, then read in the instance one, then copy stuff back and all that.
yeah, but are you thinking put some code on the documentation for this, or only? I didn't get how you
No,
wanna show this the
I would
difference.
just I would just like list out the steps for each, and then you can really, you just count them and you can really clearly say like this first one takes 7 steps and the new approach takes 2.
Okay.
So obviously the new approach is simpler.
Yeah, I think you had the steps on the comment in the PR,
Okay.
so you
Yeah,
can
I
you
might
can
have
bring
said it.
from them.
I might have said it multiple. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but this looks like pretty good overall. I just like clean up the last few comments, maybe add a couple of diagrams, and then see if you can update the existing cap.
After I have this, I can give you the link again, and then I create the PR and can push there maybe.
You
Or
should just be able to push over the existing cap PR,
yeah,
and it should show up there, and then we can just ping the reviewers that it's been updated.
okay.
And then, but yes, then for the example PR that has the strategic merge patch example in it, we should also include a link to that in this cap, and we should update. They just comment on that PR once the cap is up, so the folks who commented on that know that it's available.
Yeah, we can bring in the alternative section. You have a link to prototype here.
Yes, yeah, we need to add we should have links to both prototypes so that people
Uh,
can compare them.
I have like I put a to do in the example, more like what corner cases are we missing here?
Yeah,
Uh, what can really screw up this game? Like,
yeah, a couple things that like possibilities that come to mind. So this wouldn't be like technically wrong, but it might be confusing to users if the merge strategy changes from flags to the instance specific like strategic merge patch. Um, that said, I think I commented somewhere on here that I think it's like an open question. I think we want to think carefully about what the merge strategy should be for each one of these options. So for example, today with flags, the only parameter that's a true merge is feature gates, and all the other flags, even if they are flags that specify map-like structures, for instance, like the eviction thresholds, um, like the entire eviction threshold map will be replaced by whatever you set in flags. Whereas with feature gates, the feature gates that you set in flags get merged with feature gates that are set in configuration. And I think there's a open question around whether we would want to move the other fields that represent like have map like representations to also do merges instead of replacements when we're using the strategic merge patch. I think that might be like, it might be more expected from a user standpoint, but I think we needed to discuss that with the community.
The good part is that we can control this kind of merges in the tags. So whatever we decide, we append the patch strategy for it tag in the struct, like patch strategy merge or patch strategy replace.
Right,
And
but we have to make the decision, and that's what we have to do. The other thing I was thinking is like it would be nice if user, we might decide someday like actually it's better if users can specify the merge strategy that they want to use, because like they're the ones who are actually writing the configuration. So, I had two ideas around that. One was, is there maybe a way to annotate the YAML itself to override the strategy? I'm not sure. I think there have been other tools that have like done it in YAML comments. I wouldn't really include that in this cap, but just like maybe as a note for the future, like some users might not be satisfied with the merge strategies we choose, so we might eventually want to give them a way to pick a merge strategy.
Okay.
Let me think what else. I think we need to make sure that there's a requirement in here that the both the config and instance specific config files are only specifying one object each, at least based on this implementation, and B, only specifying objects that have the same API group and API version, so that we don't need to. So the first one is so we don't need to map between multiple objects, which would make this more complicated. And the second one is so that we don't need to do conversions, because conversions require unmarshalling. And we're trying to do this merge before we unmarshal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I can write that in a comment too if it helps us remember.
Yeah, please, you can put there. Do you think this can be a blocker or?
No, I think it's just, we just need to I think we should just explicitly note it. I don't think anyone will really object to it.
Okay. In the cases of the feature maps, you can pass values to this inside kubelets, not only a feature flag for the. Do you have some examples of these feature gates that we can put in the?
Um, there are probably examples in like the cube up scripts that turn clusters up in the first place. Like some of the testing scripts might have them.
Right.
I mean, I have examples, but they're not public.
No problem.
um, but there should be examples like people setting kubelet feature gates is pretty common. Um, okay, I left a comment with some thoughts. Um, but yeah, and the only other things I can think about are like we have to make sure we test it really well, and that we're getting the expected merge results for all these parameters. Like, yeah, I like, without a super deep understanding of how strategic merge patch works internally, like our best bet is just extensive testing.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can do this externally, like doing a bunch of fuzzers with the fields and try to get the expectation output.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's um, I think that we can make reasonable guesses at what good behavior would be based on, what flags already do today. That at least gives us like something that users would be used to um, from flags. We can also look at the kinds of merge strategies that are used on other API objects, and see if there are similarities to the kubelets configuration that would be an indication that we should use the same strategy for kubelet.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, like you'll have to get your implementations through code review, and we'll make sure that reviewers who are also going to be thoughtful about these design decisions take a look at them. So like, don't worry too much about getting it exactly right. Just do your best to make a reasonable decision when picking a
Okay.
merge strategy. Yeah. Cool. Great work so far. This is awesome.
Cool. Nice. I'll try to solve the comments here, and next week have the final outcome of this thing.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it. And then hopefully we have a kept up. We ping Jordan and Stefan and Lee and try to get that merged. And then we get like an initial implementation merged for maybe kubeproxy or kubelet or something.
Okay. Sounds a plan.
Cool. And then finally we can like finish our migration to component config for some of these components.
Dude, but what's the deal? That's some people don't want to use this totally because they cannot override this thing.
Yeah, well, basically they can't right? So we'll get everything migrated to component config, and then we'll still have these last few options left over. So for kubelet, we'd have a few flags left over, and it would be like a little ugly. You might still have to set these flags locally. For kubectl, they I think have instance specific fields actually in the API, and they need to remove those. And I think it's better if we just use your merge approach and just like move to that. Like it doesn't matter what is in your API, because you can set it from either place.
Got it. Yeah, from the conversation on the scheduler, they are not use this. They don't. People cannot think about a case they can use this as scheduling stuff specific.
I don't know which specific conversation, but like we're eventually just going to push every component to use this as its configuration API. Some components have called it component config when they have other config files that like don't represent the set of options for their flags, and they use those for other features. And so some people might be thinking like, oh, well, we don't have a new feature we're building that like loads a new config from a file, so we don't need this. So like API server has a feature where you can configure how webhooks authenticate to webhook servers via like a file that's local to the API server's file system. And that file is nominally implemented in a component config style. So it's kind of like a different use case for component config versus just specifying the basic options for a component. But yeah, we're trying to move all of them in that direction.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll get as far as we can with like kubelet kubectl controller manager, and then eventually we'll get around to scheduler, and finally maybe API server. API server is kind of like the most sensitive component, so there's generally a lot of resistance to big changes there.
Got it. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. So see you next week, man.
Yeah, you too. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have trouble accessing that branch.
Okay. I ping you on Slack.
Cool. All right. Take care.
See ya.